Hey guys, we're here again today, HardRacing, doing our Grom project bike. And today we're going to be installing the Dyno QuickShifter. This sensor goes in tandem with a power commander. You have to have a power commander already to use the QuickShifter. So this basically plugs into the power commander and goes in line with your shift linkage, so that way you can have wide open throttle clutchless shifting. So basically you just peg the throttle wide open and pound up through the gears without ever pulling in the clutch and without letting off the gas. You still shift the bike with your foot. The difference is now you don't have to let off the gas and you don't have to pull in the clutch. That's just for upshifting. You still traditionally use the clutch and everything for the downshifting. But basically it just lets you pound up through the gears if you're getting onto an interstate or you're leaving the stoplight and you want to just go really quick. That helps. If you're racing, it's almost a necessity because it cuts down your lap times by having you never have to let off the gas. So we're going to show you this setup here is made to go with aftermarket rear sets that have a traditional shift rod. You basically have the sensor, and then you have a shift rod here that screws into the sensor, and that replaces your shift rod that you have on your bike right now. This setup here will not work for stock foot controls. It will only work for aftermarket rear sets. There's a separate kit that looks a little different than this that's made for stock foot controls. But today we're just going to show you how to install this one, which is made for aftermarket rear sets, like driven, which is what we have on our bike. So the sensor you get with the kit, the wire harness, stickers, instructions, and the rod is sold separate. And the rod and the QuickShifter together will replace your rod that's on there now, but it may have to be trimmed down to size because it all just depends on how you have the linkage. So here are the driven rear sets, and as you can see we have these set up for GP shift with the rod running to the top position. If you have standard shift, this connection here would be down on the back of here, running on the back side of the foot control. But for GP shift it goes up here. So basically you're going to unscrew this rod here and replace it with the QuickShifter and the rod included, and then every time you press on the sensor will pick up the movement and kill the fuel for a split second and let you do wide open throttle clutchless shifting. So when you have the rear sets, since they're fully adjustable, everything can be tailored to your needs. Where you want the height of the toe piece, where you want the height of the foot peg, and the angle you have all this at. Well, that also dictates the length of the rod. Now we make these plenty long enough threads inside here that you can snip down a little bit off the ends if you need to make the rod a little shorter. It should never need to be longer. We made the rod plenty long enough to be able to go here, or for the standard shift pattern to go back there. But if it is a little long, like this right here, you can see it's a little bit longer, then all you do is just take off a little hacksaw or Dremel and just snip off a little bit on each end to make it the right length. You basically want it the exact same length as the rod you have now. So if you're lucky, you just screw it on and it's the exact same length, but if it needs to be trimmed, no worries. Got plenty of threads. Just try to make sure you take a little bit off of each end, because if you somehow had to take off like an inch, you wouldn't have a whole lot left of threads in there. So take off equal amounts on each end if you need to trim the rod, but hopefully you shouldn't need to. And again, it all comes down to where you have this in relation to that, in relation to this, in relation to that. So, but it's nothing, no big deal, real quick and simple. A little snip on the end with a Dremel or hacksaw or cutting tool or little jigsaw, table saw, whatever. But I mean, it's really easy to cut this aluminum. So Alright, real quick, also for shifting in general, whether you have a quick shifter or not, you really want all your linkages to be at 90 degrees to the shift rod. See, this is where you want it to be. See how it's straight up and down here and straight across this way? 90 degrees. If that angle becomes too closed or too open, you have to apply that much more force to shift. Here's an example of where that's not a very optimal angle. See how it's wind up? It's basically pushing and it's trying to pull the shaft off of here instead of rotating it. So this you really want to be 90 degrees here and 90 degrees here. And if you had your shifter down here, it'd be the same way. You would still want it 90 degrees there and 90 degrees there. So you always want the linkage 90 degrees to the rod for the best A, quick shifter results, but B, the best feel and the best leverage to get out of your shift system. Regardless of whether you're using a quick shifter or not, always try to have as close as you can to 90 degrees between your linkage and your shift rod, here and here. Alright, and then you're going to basically have your rod connected to your quick shift sensor and size that up to the rod you're using off your rear sets. Now we already trimmed down our driven rod a while back because we wanted the angles and everything to be a certain way, so we made this shorter. But this right now, as we include it in the kit, when you order that rod, it's going to be the same length as your driven rod is. So your driven rod's going to be about that long, and that's the way this is. Now if you've trimmed your rod or you want to trim this again, you can do anything you want to this rod. It's threaded, you know, this much here and this much here, so you can trim a little bit off the ends. But if you've got driven rear sets and you haven't trimmed the rod, then this should be the same length as the one that you're going to have when they're together. So these two together should be the same length as your driven rod. So you just thread it into there. It's a good idea to, these two pretty much are going to stay together, so it's a good idea to put a little blue Loctite right there. Obviously this is a lock nut on there as well to keep it from backing out, but for vibration and stuff, there's nothing worse. And you're out riding around and something loosens itself up, and next thing you know, your shifter's flopping around. So a little blue Loctite on that one's a good idea. So the easiest way to do this is to go ahead and screw the sensor into the rod and then thread the rod onto the back heim joint until it locks into the nut, and then take the front one, and basically if you pop this thing off, then you can easily, or you can also unscrew the heim joint. It's just a lot easier. If you're trying to twist everything with the wire, you're just going to wind up damaging something or getting it all wound up and stuff. It's just easier just to pull this thing off. It's just one bolt or the heim joint, either one, whatever's easier for you, and then just screw it in there. And remember, if it doesn't thread one way, that means you're turning it the wrong direction. So once you get that all into position where you want it, then you go ahead and install that and then tighten your bolt down. Alright, so next thing you want to do is run the wire up into, you're basically going to run it up into where your power commander is. So all you got to do is just loosen up the sprocket cover, two little Allen bolts. You don't even have to take it off. Just back it out a few turns so that you can get some room in there, and then just run the cable up there. So all you do is just take it, and you'll see these two little tabs here. Just push the cable behind there. You don't want to pinch the cable. And leave some room, because remember, your sensor is moving back and forth. So don't have it guitar string tight and then start yanking out of the side of the sensor. And just basically wedge that back there. And just make sure it's not, you know, when you push the cover against it, you should be able to move the cable a little bit so it's not pinched on anything. And again, just leave some slack down here on the bottom, so that way the cable's not getting pulled. And then just tighten down the cover. You don't have to crank it down just yet because you may have to adjust the cable later. So for right now, just make sure it's good. And then all you're going to do from this point is take this and connect it with your harness. And then run these two wires up to your power commander. So basically just feed those wires up there. Take your seat off. And basically just along where all the rest of the wiring is going up into there anyways, you just kind of feed it through all these little factory holders and then just run it up into your tail section into your power commander. And then this basically is going to plug into here. And there you go. And then you can just tuck that up under there. Alright, so once you got your wires run up into your storage box, you want to go ahead and these are going to run right into the power commander. Really important, as much as you're going to be tempted if you have some extra wires to cutting these to shorten it down, you don't want to do that. These are specifically soldered just right so that they easily slide into the holes and don't bunch up. If you cut them, you're going to have to do the same thing. It's just not worth it. So if you have some extra cabling, just run it over here out of the way. It's not really a big deal. So basically you've got these holes right here. There's like 6 of them. And you just basically just loosen up 2 of them. And it doesn't matter. I don't know, it's pretty weird, but Dyno says it doesn't matter. So let's pick the first 2 and just run them in there and make sure they're, again, you gotta wiggle it. There's a little rubber boot that you gotta push through. If the wire doesn't slide all the way through to where there's almost no solder showing, you didn't put it in deep enough. So make sure you push through that rubber boot until you get almost the hole, and don't jam it in there. Wiggle it, spin it, and then it'll just slide through and it'll be just like that. You should have almost no solder showing. So once you've got those in there snug, keep pressure on them because you don't want them pulling out while you tighten it down. And then go ahead and tighten these screws. You don't need to crank the crap out of them, just put enough so that they don't pull out. But you're not trying to strip them or anything. And I don't know if you noticed, but when you first are putting these in there, go ahead and back the screws out a little bit. Don't turn them all the way until they strip out and you ruin it. Just turn them out just a little bit before you put the wires in, and then you go ahead and put them down. And that's it. And just give them a little tug, each one individually. If one pulls out, then you know you didn't do it right. So again, make sure that almost all the solder part of it is all the way inside. If it's not, that means you didn't do it right. Don't just jam it in there as you'll bend it, wiggle it, spin it. Be gentle, push it through the hole, and then go ahead and tighten it on the backside. And that's it. Now you've finished your installation. Now all that's left is just to activate it with the Power Commander software, and we'll show you that next. Alright, so first thing you want to do is fire up your computer, get the software pulled up, take your USB cord, run it to your Power Commander. The bike does not need to be on. Power Commander gets powered automatically with the cable. So you go ahead and plug that into it, and you then want to, if you want to change anything with your map, you can hit Get Map, but for right now all we're doing is turning on the features. So you go up here to Power Commander Tools, click on Tools, click on Configure, click on Features Enable. There's a shortcut to this too. It's called Control F. Boom. All your features. You got your map switch, QuickShifter, accelerator pump, your rev extend, your startup fuel, auto tune switch, launch control, and speed limiter. All this stuff, Control F. So what we're doing now is we're going to activate the QuickShifter. So you're going to take and click that box for the QuickShifter. And it should be bold, letting you know that it's already plugged in. If it wasn't, that means you probably didn't do it right. But again, you really can't do it wrong. All you're doing is sticking in 2 wires, tightening them down. So if for some reason though that's not bold, you can't click it, that means you didn't connect it right. So you click that switch, then you go over here to configure. Alright, so it's going to come pretty much set up with what Dynojet recommends for this bike. You got your mode, your switch style, your minimum RPM, your shift interval, kill modes, and gear specific kill times. Now, the only way you can set up gear specific kill times is if you've already wired up the power commander to your speed sensor or gear switch on your bike. Probably most of you haven't done that, so you really don't want to mess with that, and it's better to just have it as what it comes with, which is single time. And that's basically going to be your kill time for all your gears. That's the easiest way to set it up. That's the way it most recommended to do it. So set that as single time. Your switch is going to be normally open. Without trying to get into, electronics 101, that just means that when the switch is just sitting there and there's no pressure on it, the circuit's open. When you press on your shifter to shift or pull up on it, whichever you're doing, whether you're got standard shift or GP shift, but when you're going up through the gears, then it winds up closing the circuit, which sends a signal to the power commander to cut the fuel and the ignition timing and let you do wide open clutchless shifting without hurting anything. So that'll be single time, normal, open. The minimum RPMs is definitely user personal preference. A QuickShifter is designed to go fast through the gears. It's not designed to be putting around in traffic and just going and then shift. It doesn't help you any. That's not what it's designed for. It's designed for you holding the throttle wide open. So if you're not wide open or pretty darn close to it, then the QuickShifter really isn't supposed to be used, because that's not what it was intended for. It doesn't. The gears don't just go when you're not wide open throttle. If you're half throttle or just cruising, it's not intended to be used that way. So you really don't want to have the RPMs any less than 3,000. If anything, you'd probably want a little bit more, but it's not going to hurt it. Again, these are recommendations Dynojet has. So it's usually best, they've done the testing on it, they know what they're doing, so it's usually best to leave what they have on there. But you just want to double check and make sure these are the same on yours as it is on here. So normal, open, 3,000 minimum, shift interval is 250, that's 250 milliseconds, basically a quarter of a second. Just in case you bumped it again in between shifts, it won't try to do it again. So leave that. And then kill mode, you want fuel and ignition, so it cuts the spark and it cuts the fuel while you're shifting, so it completely unloads the transmission. And then kill time is 65 milliseconds, which is, for most people, the best settings. Again, that's why Dynojet preloads it that way. If you don't feel like it's doing it right when you start shifting, you can tweak that, add 5 milliseconds plus or minus. But basically, the more you add, say you went up to like 90 milliseconds, that means it's going to be cutting everything, the fuel and the spark, for an even longer amount of time. So that's not, once you get doing it so much, if you did like 250 milliseconds, like a quarter second, the bike probably stall out because you cut the fuel and everything for so long. So you really don't want to go crazy on that if you're trying to tweak it. 95, probably 99% of you, good to go. Almost everything on here should be good to go when you do it. But it's adjustable if you want to mess with it. For most guys, they're probably not going to want to because they just want it plug and play. So honestly, I would just leave it, all the settings the way they are here. So you got single time, normal, open, 3,000, 250, fuel and ignition, and 65 milliseconds. And then you're going to hit OK. And then you're going to hit OK. Now it's applying the settings to your power commander, and that's it. So now you can go out and try it out and see how it works. Basically, like I said, it's made to do wide open throttle, and then you just pound through the gears. But it's only made to go upshifting. Second, third, fourth, not both directions. And it's only made for wide open throttle. This is not all of a sudden an automatic transmission or something. You're still shifting it with your foot. When you're wide open throttle, you don't have to pull in the clutch. You just, like MotoGP guys or World Superbike, you just go pop, pop, pop through the gears if you got GP shift, or if you're old school and you still have standard shift, then you're going up, up, up. But you're never letting off the gas, you're never pulling in the clutch. So that's how it works, and that's how easy it is to set up. That's how easy it is to install it on the bike. And if you have any other questions or need help with anything, just give us a call or send us an email or check us out on Facebook.